Hello everyone, it's Arthur. Welcome to this fourth video. You might have heard about it, but you probably watch videos with it, and you've asked yourself, what's this? Intel Confidential or AMD Engineering Sample written on the CPU's IHS is very rare, and as a normal consumer, you probably won't have any chance to have one in your hand. Like any components in your PC, there are better phases of them, where you have to stress test them to see if they're stable. Intel has then made ES CPUs or engineering sample CPUs, which are made only for testing purposes. They will normally be destroyed after the actual retail version releases. Normal consumers who are not affiliated to Intel should not have engineering sample CPUs. These CPUs do not have any warranty and you're not allowed to sell them, nor to own them as well. If you already knew this, congratulations, but there are probably other things that you do not know. On AliExpress and eBay, you can actually purchase some engineering sample CPUs. They are way cheaper than their retail version, usually 50% less, but it can be way more. And the i9-9900, for example, can be purchased on AliExpress for around $250 USD shipped to your house. Even though this CPU is now a bit outdated, as we are on the 10th gen now, this $250 USD price tag has been there for over 8 months now. 8 months ago, $250 USD for a i9-9900 was an excellent price, especially for us Europeans who pay a lot more than you Americans do for components. Now, there are multiple versions of engineering sample CPUs. The majority that you can buy right now are the beta of beta CPUs. They are named on your computer Genuine Intel 000 simply because Intel made them without actually wanting them to have any names. They're just prototypes. For example, on AliExpress you can purchase a QEY6 CPU. It is said to be an E5-2695v3 by AliExpress sellers. And I actually happen to own them. To own 2 of them before reselling them. They had a TDP of 145 watts and not 120 watts as stated for the actual E5-2695v3. Which means that actually Intel has made improvements on these CPUs so that they can consume less power, produce less heat. Hence, if you are getting a QEY6 CPU, you're not getting an actual Intel Xeon E5-2695v3. You're getting a Haswell EP CPU with 14 cores and 28 threads with a certain clock speed, but with no name. The QEY6 CPU is actually the closest to an E5-2695v3, but was not made in order to be 2695v3. I hope you understood that one. So these pre-production samples have lower clock speeds, sometimes 500 MHz less. Sometimes they even have, like their boost clocks are base clocks of the retail versions. So these are the first versions of engineering sample CPUs. They are not really compatible with any motherboard and not a lot stable. So for instance, the Xeon E5 V4 engineering samples are not compatible with every X99 motherboards, or the Xeon Gold and Platinum are not compatible with every motherboard. But wait, didn't you notice in big YouTubers videos, for example Linus Tech Tips, when they review a CPU that is about to be released, they also have engineering samples. They call them review samples. These CPUs are even rarer. They have names, and if you get on a software like CPU-Z, instead of saying Intel Genuine 000 ES, you'll see, for instance, Intel Core i9-9900 ES. But still, it will still be written on the CPU's IHS Intel Confidential. So these are quality engineering sample CPUs. They have a name, and now their clock speed are around the same, but you can still have a few megahertz less than their retail version. These versions are more stable, but are way harder to find and buy. So for the i9-9900 again, its first engineering sample version, to my knowledge, is called QQBZ, and its stable engineering sample version is called QRN7. And finally you get the retail version. No, I'm kidding! You then have the last stage of CPUs, the qualifying sample, also named QS. These ones have names on your computer, like the good ES versions, but still with the ES tag, But now the CPU's IHS has the name too, so you can basically find, here's a screenshot of an E5-4669V3 quality sample, qualifying sample, that's the same. So you can see on the IHS, you have the actual name, but on CPU-Z you still see E5-4669V3, but with the ES tag. So these CPUs are totally stable and can be used normally, and they are compatible with every motherboard. They can be found all over AliExpress and eBay, and if you're on a budget, you should definitely grab one of these instead of its retail version. These days, the 3647 sockets, so the Xeon Gold, Platinum, etc., there are a lot of engineering samples version out there, but they are very unstable. With the QS versions, you actually winning a lot of money there, so I will definitely recommend you buying a QS version instead of a retail version. That's literally the same. And finally, now I'm not kidding, you get the retail version, the one that we consumer can purchase in our stores. By the way, there are often more than one retail version of a CPU. The versions of the CPUs are called steppings, and all the retail versions are stable, but the more stepping you have, the better the CPU. And the more stable, of course. And of course, engineering sample CPUs for each stepping exist. So the process continues. As of me, I happen to have a 99-9900 QQBZ. There's a video reviewing it, by the way. And two, actually, E5-2695V3 QEY6. One E5-2630V4 QHVK, and there's a video about it. And a Xeon Gold 5120 QL1G. These 4 beta engineering sample CPUs have always been stable for me, and I have had no issues with them. If you're on a real tight budget, you can definitely get one of these ES CPU, and even if you don't have a budget but you still want to gain some money, you can definitely do that. You will lose nothing. It's the end of the video now. If you liked it, leave a like, subscribe, it will help me a lot. It was Arthur. Thank you so much for watching this video. Have a good day and see you very soon. Bye.